know how to work it. And he's sitting there at a table with a friend, and he showed me how to work the laundry.
Well, the giggle was, at first, as I'm watching this, I was with my friend and I tapped her. I said, watch this. I said, this is funny. Because he was lifting the lid and watching, and after about a minute, it's like, wait a minute, let's go over and give him a hand, and the rest is history.
Yeah, so
anyhow,
and I said, I'm a beekeeper. Oh, we want to keep bees. You know, you heard that before. Everybody wants to keep bees. So I said, yeah, okay. I said, stop over. And that week we went out and spent quite a bit of money at Better Bee.
Right, it was 2 days later.
2 days.
Yeah,
and,
he invited us.
This is Chip King. And
over.
what he's going.
Oh,
He's immersed fully
in one
into
place here.
Lithuanian type of thing, but he's changed it.
That's what I'm going to say. Anyhow, that's us.
A lot of money, a lot of time on this hive, and it's just unbelievable what he's done in 2 years.
You had asked me 3 years, actually it was 3 years ago that you met. Yeah, it's now 3 years. As a mechanic, automation engineer, that I would be a beekeeper. That wouldn't be reality. Now the thing about beekeeping, as I've learned and watched Carl over his house in making queens and whatnot, which really fascinates me, and the whole business of bees. Everything about them is good, and everything about them is money. Depending on what your specialty decides to be, whether wax, is it all, is it propolis, whatever it is, bees. So Carl has showed me the way. I want to do bees.
Yeah, he's first one, and he was all shook up and running.
Oh yeah, no, I hate. And also, let me reiterate, I am deathly afraid of bees. I got stung when I was a kid, and I'm just now getting over them being around and touching me. I can let them land on me now and not flip out. But anyhow, what I came up with is, working with Carl, is that rearing queens and working bees is heavy work. The idea of picking up 100-pound boxes to get down to the bottom to see a queen, or to get your honey, or do any work that you're doing, one, to me, it's very disruptive to the bees because you're ripping apart their environment. And I started looking at different options. I was first enamored with the top bar hive. I thought top bar hive was the cat's meow. Wow, don't have to pick anything up, everything's right there. You know, no issues. But it's not good for this northern climate. Not that it wouldn't work, but it just seemed to be the videos I was watching of people up north, they were losing their bees. As we went along, more researching, I learned about a Slovenian hive. A Slovenian hive is an example of this, except it's smaller, okay? The dimensions of a Slovenian hive don't match the Langstroth dimensions. So I bought a Slovenian hive with the idea of being able to have a hive inside of a building. Okay, right now, how many people do you know that have a hive of bees in their house? Actually take care of bees in their house. Okay, bottom of my steps every morning, I can look at my bees. How can I do that? Well, the Slovenian style, or what's now known as the Americana, opens up and everything is contained by their feeders. So as you look at this, loaded with bees and the frames and what you would have in here, this is all contained, so they won't come out and bother you. They leave from the other side. They come in and go. This is the outside, here's your inside. Went through several revisions to get something that resembled this, just this box. This is what I put in my house, and as I looked more into the industry, into the business of bees, pollinating, moving, everything that is goes along with beekeeping, I started looking into and realizing you need a forklift and a big trailer and all this to haul bees around. Well, the Amish guy I was working with, I said, hey, what if I took the idea of leaving all of this for brood and everybody to grow, and we can super up off the top, put a combing option on the top, and that's where this came from. This little tip, this is easy to access. You just take this off and put another one on. You don't have to disturb the bees, okay? Also with this in the top for the winter, if you'll come over, you can look at that. There's holes in the top, which is how the bees get up in here, which double for feeders. They've got the holes for the mason jars, so you can just drop your mason jars right on top, and then they can make it through the winter. Insulation of the hive, if this is outdoors, it'd have to be insulated, but to me the whole idea is to have these inside. Right now all of you are slaves to the weather. If it rains, if it's cold, you can't do bees. Me? I can look at my bees in my pajamas if I want, sipping my coffee, because they're right there. You're going to work them. The building you have is open. You have a window. You open them up, you do your business. The bees calm down and it's like nothing happened. What else was I talking about? Along with this system, the idea of this is nothing new. This system here is 500 years old. That's how long the Slovenian system has been around. Why we don't use it here in the States is beyond me. To me, like I said, the idea, the other thing I was talking about before is having to lift a 100-pound box of honey. Today you don't have to do that. Okay, if you want. This is a vent. You open this up for venting. So if it's, again, this is an outdoor hive. You could leave this up or down. You also have one on the bottom. You can now open this section up and just deal with the frames that you want to. If you're going after your honey, you take them off, you put in your new frames. The other thing too, with the building that I've erected, sorry I can't show you pictures and whatnot, I'd like to, is that the process is right in the building. So over in Slovenia, if you go online, look up YouTube, these guys run around in gypsy trailers. It's really cool. The old four-wheeled gypsy trailers that you see on TV, the old movies, loaded with hives. They live in them. They get hauled out to the woods somewhere and they live there. Everything's done on that trailer. So I've taken a building, I've built a 12 by 20. It holds 20 hives, and inside is my entire process. So I can pull my comb out, process it, jar it, everything right in one spot. There's no more going out to your location and having to cart it back, having redundancy. You're going to have twice as many frames. You're going to go out, you're going to bring your empty frames to bring your full frames back to process. It becomes more expensive.
So how do you prevent robbing while you're taking your honey out inside of that house? Robbing can be a huge issue when you're taking honey off.
Yeah, I haven't run into that yet because this is new to me.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, as what I'm learning, my favorite line is, if you don't know what you're doing, you can do anything.
Yep.
So I'm trying it. What I've seen of robbing on YouTube, if you start a robbing problem, just open up all your hives and they'll all go home because they don't want to be robbed. But if you get to realize you're only dealing with this much of an area as you're pulling your honey out. Okay, this is sealed. All the other hives are sealed. They would have to leave the front and come in the front door, which I don't think they'll do that. If you had these open, sure, it would probably come out. But this, again, they're hiding behind. So this is what holds the frames in place. This is the other thing too about this hive, the frames are held solid, so they can't jiggle around, be moved, which I like for the idea of transporting, because that was the other part with getting into pollination services. Taking these, I'm making a skid with 4, 6, or 8 of these on the skid on metal drawer rollers. So they're back to back. I want to work on them. They open up 48 inches. I go in the back and do my business. Close them back up, lock it. That skid can be pulled with a trailer, skid it up onto it. I have a little tilt bed trailer, hoist it up, and I tow it wherever I need to with my Volkswagen. So for me, my business plan is to get as many of these pods going. I'm going to go after honey at first, but I can, I see it in the Mohawk Valley. I look at the valley and go, there's a spot, there's a spot. There's 1,000 spots in 20 miles that I could leave 4, 6, or 8 hives and make honey with, and go out and get them in 3 weeks. Go out and get them in a month. Move them to the next spot. Of course, that's more of what's going on now with how people are going out and getting their honey and bringing it back. But my eventual goal is to actually have 4 people to, you have to excuse me, I have to get my dog. Milo, get over here. Come here, you. That's my dog, Milo. He goes everywhere with me. Milo, get over here. The other thing too that we're looking at is right now, in order to be a beekeeper, you have to have legs. Okay, with this in a building can now be accessible for people who are in a wheelchair. That's an idea that came along as I was building it, sitting down one day talking to Levi. He's the gentleman who's helped me build these things. Like, wow, you could be a beekeeper sitting down now. As for all of us that are getting older, it could be something that's a whole lot better again than moving 50-pound boxes of honey at a rip. So, but anyhow, that's something I'm looking to do, is look at expanding into the direction of other people who would like to be beekeepers but have a physical handicap that wouldn't allow it. So, but along with that comes our nukes. Came up with the idea of just, you have your standard 5-frame nuke, nothing fancy. What's nice about this is that we took the edge off where you put your frames, and this makes and facilitates making it easier when you need to move them to propolis. They're not dug in. You just go right under them, pop them right out. Saves a lot of time if you have a lot of them. So I made the 5-frame, made a 3-frame. This is for growing. And then the idea came to me that as I was building the 5-frame nuke, what would happen if we made a standard so that for someone that doesn't have a big, who just wants to be a hobby beekeeper, they have a small backyard and they want to keep bees but they grow. Well, I mean, we could go ahead and just continue stacking this. I have another one. I don't have another one with me, but I could give you 3. So you start off with a 5. You just add this, go to a 10. If you want to go 15, you can. And now they're not that heavy if you're looking at doing it the old-fashioned way without hurting yourself. This was made by mistake. I was out. I learned from Carl about making your own equipment. So I'm not a carpenter, I'm a mechanic. To say the least, I mismeasured a whole bunch of stuff, and I was like, well, I'll use what I've got, and I ended up with this. And then Carl, inspired me to take it and do more with it, and this is what we have. So that's about all I've got to say. For anyone who's got any questions.
Well, how about queen rearing? Can you raise queens?
Oh, there? That's right. Yes. in development. Right now, the front door to this thing, you get your hive beetle trap. This is for feeding. This slides in the front, and it's a bottle feeder. You put your bottles in here. Another important part, forgot about that. And then these are also feeders. So this is where you put your pollen and sugar, and they go right up against the hive. The bees go in and get it. But with the queen rearing that Carl just asked about, I don't know why I don't have a bottom part for this. If you can imagine this piece cut into thirds, and inside this part is a drawer, and that drawer is going to hold the 3 frames that you use for queen rearing, because you have brood, and your queen cells. So now you don't have to disturb anything. All you're going to do is come over, pull the drawer out, put a drawer in, and you have your queen cells every 10 days, whatever your cycle is. Don't have that yet, but that's one of my goals for queen rearing, is to be able to do something that simple in my house, going from my front porch to my back porch, rearing queens. If I can do that, I can retire comfortably and hopefully not have to worry like Carl does. So yes, you can rear queens. Looking to make it simpler. Like I said, right now you'd have to take this whole thing out, pull your frames out, put your frames back in, versus, like I said, I look forward to having a setup specifically for that. That's the specialty that I want to do to the hive. Because like I said, as this hive stands right now, this is just a standard Slovenian hive that's been modified to fit Langstroth frames. What will make this hive different is being able to rear queens in it more efficiently and a lot easier than anybody else is doing presently. Yes?
I'm not clear on what you mean by inside your house. Is it in your living room, in your garage, in your porch? And how do you have a hole in your wall so that they can go out and... I don't understand how that works.
Oh, here. This is inside my house. Okay, it's sitting in a window.
Oh, okay.
So the window is the outside, and the other side, if I had more time, I would have set up the spin. But that's in my house at the bottom of my stairs. Now, it's not in a closed room. Okay, there's a window right here. Mm-hmm. You know, I open that window up. I haven't done it yet, but I want to hang a black curtain behind it, and then all they'll have is the black curtain and the window to go to.
So how many get in your house?
I would say since I put it in, I've seen bees in there maybe 4 or 5 times, just 2 or 3 at night. They get it into the light, on the ceiling light. But pretty much they are not, I haven't had any issues with that. That hasn't, actually, in a way, at night, you know, you'll sit there, you know, watch them fly around. It's kind of cool. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I got bees. You know, again, 3 years ago, I would have been killing it. You know, you know, where'd that come from? Like I said, deathly afraid of bees, and you know, if it flies, I kill it, but not anymore. So it's a change in attitude, you know, for me. Like I said, I never realized I could be a farmer, which is what I'm turning into, I guess. And then this, you know, the design and the simplicity of trying to make what we're doing as beekeepers more simple, because it, you know, it's, like I said, to me it's crazy. I went to Kudik's operation out on Route 10. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. Huge. I mean, it's got a pile of hives the size of the building over there, sitting outside his building where he does all his process. Tractor trailer full. You know, he hauls his bees to California. I mean, that's how big they are. You know, the idea of having to hoof all that stuff, and you know, again, it's the lifting, and I'm lazy. You know, I want to do it as easy as possible. And also in my background, in automation and working in the industry, different industries, from food to medicine to aluminum, chemical, whatever, packaging aspect, however it is that you're doing, I always try to see an easier way to do it. And that's where this came from. So now my hope is that developing a website, putting it together. I had hoped this year that we would have the county fairs, but unfortunately, actually you are all the first to see this. This is the coming out party of the Americana hiving system. No one has seen this other than Carl and the guy who's been building it, Beehive Mast. So it's made in America. The Amish have been instrumental in helping me. So give kudos to those who have been involved. It started with Sam. What's his last name? Johansson. Your hive builder.
Samuel?
Samuel, thank you. Samuel built my first one, and when I told him I wanted 10 more, he balked and said, no, you go talk to Levi. Levi had built me a small shed. I had set up the idea of having a shed that would hold 1, 2, 4 of these, just big enough to hold them, that you would close up and whatnot. But I realized it's outside. You're still working outside. You have to open the hive up outside. Why do I want to do that? If I could be inside a building, comfortable and warm and dry, I'd rather be there. And for the cost of a building, 12 by 20 buildings, 4 grand, 4,500, you can have everything in one place. How much honey, depending on your location, depends on how much honey you'll make, but for 20 hives, you'll probably see, what's 50 pounds a hive, roughly. Again, depending on how you would configure this. In a building, you would be configuring like you normally do. You'd have 2 brood, and then you'd have your super up top, and then you just pull your honey off the top of the 3rd frame. This would be an indoor setup. That with the roof would be an outdoor setup, and then the whole thing is a hive, and it gives you plenty of bees. And looking at the idea of propagating bees, if that's packed full and you take 1/3 of them, you can start another hive somewhere or start another box, and the hive won't feel it as much. Again, that's how I feel about it, learning from what I am doing. When you split a hive, how can you do it? Again, all of these things I haven't done, but I'm learning and looking to do. Yes?
Sorry, I have another question.
No, fire away.
I'm fascinated with the idea of being able to transport them on a wagon.
Yeah.
Because I live in the woods too, and I don't know, it's a Sacandaga, so most of what's near my bees is water, which doesn't help so much. So moving them around.
So imagine this on a skid. Okay, this is 8 hives, and on a skid, and if you turn it sideways, they're on metal drawers, 500-pound drawer slides, and then this way they slide apart 48 inches so you can get in behind them. This is the door side. Right now they're in backwards, okay? But this is my goal, is to make 2, 4, and 6, 4, 6, and 8 skids that would go on a trailer that you can then haul around.
But then you think you have to insulate them, so there's no way you'd be able to incorporate them inside.
Correct. Well, again, it would depend on how would you set that up. You have to realize you could take that top off and then take that whole beehive and put it in a building. It is very easy to move. That's the other nice thing that we came up with. If you need to move a hive of bees, this thing weighs 250 pounds. You got 2 people, handles lock in. I have legs made so you can have this up in the air if you want. Again, for your season, so you don't have to work too hard. It's a work in progress. It's something that I have 2 hives right now in an Americana. One the cutout that Carl was telling you all about. that I just did a few days ago. So I have a strain of wild bees, according to the gentleman. That hive has been there for like 30 years. And what was fascinating, to get on a side subject, was vacuuming the bees up. I got to look at all the bees a lot more closely because I'm looking for the queen. And what was fascinating was all the different types of bees that were in this hive. They were the miniature queen. I swear to God, they look exactly like a queen. Pitch black, beautiful bee, thousands of them, along with the typical yellow and black that you see, the fuzzy ones, the bigger ones, the little ones, but it was primarily these black little bees, and they were just, I get excited talking about it. But yeah, I have a hive full of those right now that my goal is to get through the next year, because that's going to be the strain that I want to develop into the building that I created. And by the end of next year, hopefully I'll have 20 hives in the building, you know, that I can then, you know, hear what's the next step. You know, who has a farm big enough to hold, to contain something that big that wants to make honey. The other thing too is an idea that I had with the pod idea is that, again, going up and down to different businesses. Okay, right now everyone is selling his honey, or Kudik's honey, or Catherine's honey. But if you own a business, what if I said, look, if you let me put a box out back here, I'll sell your honey, so you can put your name on it. How much, you know, what kind of business can I draw with that? So I can pull up with a car, leave some hives there for a few weeks or a season, come back and process it, and it's your name, it's your business. So that's the other part that I'm looking to do. Whether it's a farm, whether it's a apple orchard, you know, other aspects of, you know, where I'd like to go, in and around, looking at everything, because I don't know which is going to feed me yet. Is it going to be the equipment, or is it going to be the bees? I don't know. Like I said, it's in all reality, this is, I guess, well, each year has been a different progress for me. The first year I split a hive. My first hive, I reared 5 queens. I was like, with my first 4 months, I gave him a queen. The black one, yeah. Catherine, we put a queen over Catherine's, and I don't know what happened to that one, but
ate it through the winter.
And then the ones that I have back at the house. I didn't know if I made it through my first season. I remember I was very scared because Carl had told me you're not a beekeeper till you go through the winter. And I thought my bees were dead, and asked him to come over and let's do an autopsy, and lo and behold, we opened the hives up and they were alive. So that year, this is what came to fruition, these ideas, and then it's been this past year, this third year, that you're actually seeing now in production what this vision that I've had after meeting Carl. Yes, sir.
I don't know if you covered it yet or not, but what's the basic cost for your basic hive?
Basic, well, if you're looking, I got a price list. I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. The double stack. Well, here, this is what we got for, you know, the different attachments that go with it. There's legs that you can stand this up on. With an Americana, like a Slovenian. When you're hiving, you use a hiving board. This will slide in here like this, and you put the queen inside. You dump the bees on this, and they all walk in. Or if you want, you can dump the bees in up top. That's how I did it. You have, oh, you hear this. This is the bottom one. This would be on the bottom, so you have room for your bottles. So, or you could have 3 of those if you like, if you don't want to feed, if you're, you know, outdoors. So there's different options that you can do, because as you're seeing this, so you can change it if you want to just have a screen or you want to have a feeder. Okay, it also pops out because you need to, as you're putting this in, be able to adjust the frame to lock this in place, and then you put this in and lock it up. Done.
So the bees use the
you throw sugar and pollen in here, and then they come in the other side and lick it out. Lick it out. So that was the other thing that I liked about this design. I mean, you look at your stack of boxes. You know, how do you feed them? You know, you have to put in another frame, take up space. Where this, you know, everything's external. Like I said, it's in common sense and intuition. Is what I make my living with when I look at machines. And when you see that, it's like, wow, you know, I'll say it all the time. Gee, who thought of that? You know, how did they come up with it? And now I ask, well, gee, why don't we do it? Why aren't more people doing it? You know, the Slovenian Hive has a following in the United States. The Slovenian Hive their hive house is designed differently. I haven't gotten into, it's designed in that their honey is about 15% drier than our honey, because of I think the shape of the building and how it moves the air around itself. Something I'm going to be looking at and talking to the Amish about, being able to make a house like this. It's also cool if you look online, look up Slovenian hive house, and there's a house from, I think it's the 1600s. It's a six-sided house, and it's just packed. That's where I came up with the idea. It had the process in the center, and all around it, you know, the size of these trees. 6 sides loaded with Slovenian hives. The nukes fit in between. I'm setting up where my windows will fit these or this, so you can have this going in and out as well inside the building if you want. They could work on them in the building. Any other questions?
How do you insulate them for the winter?
I haven't gotten that far. I mean, the idea of...
Well, you did. I thought you insulated the one at home.
No, it's inside the house.
No.
If you, well, actually, you do need to insulate the face. Let me turn this around.
Oh, that's how they go in and out?
Okay, so they go in and out here.
Each box holds 8?
10.
10.
Each level. So each of these is how they can come in and out. You open this up, open that up, and now they have full run. You need to move the bees, you need to move the hive. You plug this up here, put this here, close this, and you're ready to go. That's it. Pick them up with the handles, walk away. Now, with regard to, which I didn't do last year, which probably could be why I lost the bees that were in my house, I didn't insulate the face. This year I'll be insulating the face, because that's outside. The rest of it's inside. It doesn't need to be insulated. You know, my house is 68. Once in a while it might drop down to, you know, down to the low 60s, but I mean, typically it's nowhere near the 0 that it is outside. And then in the winter, I have a little wood room. That's where I'm going to be putting the other 5. I want to put 5 more hives on the front of my house, and then on my back porch, it's probably another 6 hives I can put there. But I want to do that again specifically for queen rearing, because I want to give this guy a run for his money. You know, he's the only one to rear queens around here.
So you use foam and...
I'll probably just cover them up with glass. Get a glass mat, cover them up the front. Because you gotta realize, all I need to do is have this open. So from here up I can insulate. because they'll be clustering up here. So I come up here. I take the queen excluder out and let them have the whole hive.
So it should work good even just putting it in an unheated barn. If you got a storage barn that you can cut a hole in the side to put that in, and you're getting them out of the wind and the snow's off them.
Exactly. You know, that said, it's half, to me that's half the battle. You know, I don't like the idea of you know, being a slave to the weather. You know, I guess it's part of the beekeeper's creed to have to suffer, but I'd like to think that, like I said, this is a simpler way to keep bees. It's a little more expensive, cost prohibitive up front. It's a little bit more money, but the, you know, the end run is, you know, it's well made. You'll get years of use out of it. But you, like I said, depending on what you're looking to do, and if you want to do it more comfortably, this is the only way to go. Anyone else? We're done?
My relative,
Thank you.
my relative from Slovakia used these for years,
Okay.
and the only difference is the length's longer, their hot frames are smaller.
Right.
But this idea is going to catch on big time.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Tell everybody. If you know anybody, also, in all seriousness, folks, but for those who go to church and whatnot, anybody that you know that is disabled, but is in a wheelchair, that you think might want to be a beekeeper, I would be more than overjoyed to introduce them to beekeeping. But yeah, so this is the introduction to my life in beekeeping and my vision, and I would appreciate any of you that see this as a great idea. One would want to buy a few, but you know, talk to your friends, talk to people who are starting into beekeeping. Don't let them suffer like you have, having to carry those heavy boxes. They can sit down and enjoy
Mine was way
themselves.
down.
Also, for those who don't know, you want to raise queens. There's this great book.
Upside down.
Is it? Oh yeah, there you go. We'll look at it. Wonderful book by Dr. Jarika on how to rear queens up here in the north. For those who don't have it, a definitive book on